And we are live. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our first Timeless Open. My name, Will Hall, better known on the internet as the Will Hall EXP. That man in the virtual news booth, that is my partner, Anurag Das, and we are so excited to bring you our first big arena tournament where anybody can join. And let's say sparks are flying already behind the scenes anew.
Yeah, so today we are taking a venture into TOing a little bit. We've got our small crew together and we're trying to put together what we can. I'm pretty excited about this. We have 92 players in this event today, which is insane. I've never personally run an event this large. So today what we'll be doing is juggling between player streams. We'll be juggling between TOing and we'll also be entertaining you all. So I'm glad that everyone's here and watching today. It's going to be pretty exciting. And I'm actually ecstatic to see what we've got today on the table for all of our players and the audience at home.
Yeah, and of course, it is the Timeless format. We ran the Creator Clash last week where we had 16 of some of the best Magic players in general, all battling out to try and claim themselves the crown as, best deck brewer in this new format. It is, of course, a new format on Arena. We invited a load of them back, so a load of them are playing this tournament. Let's have a look who managed to come back this week. And it's battling it out against all the people joining. Of course, starting off is Mr. Aspiring Spike. This man he just doesn't miss. He is the brewer of our generation. Absolutely, it demolishes any format that he chooses to build in. So this week he's coming back. He's trying to, semi-redeem himself, should we say. He didn't win last week, but he's trying to drag back out. He was like, no, give me another shot. I think I could do better. So we're going to see how he's battling out this week. I believe he's on a kind of a blue-white controller. So that's going to make you happy, Anu, right?
Yeah, he is continuing to play the Bant control variation that he was on last time. And then with some sideboard adjustments here. But basically, this is your Deathrite Shaman Teferi Uro Oko deck. And he's got 4 copies of Stifle, which makes me very excited.
Next up, and it's actually going to be our round 1 feature match, is, of course, Philippa MTG, one of my favorite people in the world. And she's also bringing my favorite deck in Timeless. This is my my baby. I love putting it. And, of course, that is Mono Green Titan. I want to go big. I want to go wide. I want to go over whatever strategies you're doing. You got counter spells? Sure. My lands are going to start making creatures soon. I'm going to overwhelm you that way. Next up, Mr. Elliot Dragon. What more can we say about Mr. Elliot Dragon and how much of a dominant performance he put up last week in the Creator Clash? 5-0 in the Swiss, completely undefeated before he did fall short in the rematch against Arnie. But absolutely masterclass in just Magic in general. Doesn't matter what format it is, right?
Yeah, Elliot is pretty insane. Also very, I really like Elliot's deck building process. So we saw a lot of variations of the Rakdos Breach deck that Elliot brought to the table. And Elliot had a very interesting take that used, I believe, Claim the Firstborn alongside Diabolic Intent to sort of stabilize on the board while being proactive with the combo, which was kind of, honestly, very, very, very fascinating.
Next up, we've got Naljo Rivers. Bought Mono Green Titan last week. Did she bring it this week? I didn't actually have a quick look.
Niall did, and there was one significant upgrade to her deck list. So from the Creator Clash, Niall was playing Mono Green Titan today, bringing the same deck list, but also now has Karn, the Great Creator, which is fascinating for sure.
Oh, I like that. So we're looking, going in the sideboards. It is very much taking more of a modern approach where we don't need a sideboard. I'm just going to have 15 one-ofs in there. I'm going to play my sideboard in my main. And then next up, the chef himself, Mr. Doomwake, which I know is your favorite fact about him. That used to be he's like a trained chef, but also a very good streamer and deck brewer in multiple formats. You know what he's bought this week?
Last week Doomwake had Domain Zoo, which is a very well represented deck in today's event. Today, Doomwake is actually playing Green-Black Yawgmoth, which is very powerful in this format. Also a mainstay in Modern.
Okay, well, look, that's my deck in Modern. I'm all about that. But something you don't normally get to do as a Magic player. Okay, like I've been playing Magic for many, many years, and I'm sure many people watching have been playing Magic for a lot of years. I've never played against the world champion. I played against a few Pro Tour champions, but not a world champion. But yet you can do it here today. We're going to see multiple people playing against none other than the Prince of Magic the Gathering, Nathan Stoyers, involved. Of course, brought the powerful Breach deck, the red-black Breach deck last week. Got himself into the top 4. Wasn't managed to take it down. Did fall short of the powerful blue-black Lurrus control deck that we saw made by Missman. What's he registered this time?
So let's see. Arnie is actually so Arnie made a post. You're talking about Arnie. Arnie, yeah,
And
made a post.
Nath.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Nathan. My bad. I apologize. Let me double check and see what Nathan is playing. I believe Nathan is playing blue black control, so Demir control. And
Okay.
the reason that I mentioned Arnie's name is because I know Nathan and Arnie actually collaborated a little bit for this event, and I think they might be on very very similar lists. Arnie originally said that he was interested in playing some sort of Sultai deck, but looks like has finally registered blue black. And Nathan even mentioned moving away from the Rakdos Breach deck that he brought last week to play Demir Luris, saying that I think the reliance on the graveyard was somewhat of a liability with Rakdos Breach specifically, now picking up an archetype that is certainly very, very, very powerful.
Very powerful indeed. Then we have got Jaffa, which, of course, big popular streamer. He's actually one of my friends. I met him on TikTok. I know you know him in real life. Took part last week. Didn't quite, put up the numbers he wanted to, but he's come back this week trying to put up the numbers he's going up. Didn't get again. I didn't get a chance of what he managed to reg this week. You know off the top of your head, or do I need
Yeah,
to
I
look this
do.
up?
Jaffer will
Okay.
register Jaffer Jund, which is exciting. You love to see the fair and honest fight playing cards like Minsk and Boo and all the like. I This is a very honest archetype. I'm a fan of it. I personally prefer my Jund decks to play more blue and white cards, but the vibe is there and it's immaculate.
And we already spoke about Arnie. I'm sure we were speaking a lot about him today. Got to the finals. I do still believe he could have won that matchup. I think he would have been able to take that down. But of course, timeless format. We took it to time. We couldn't have wrote it any better. So he's going to be, I guess, we believe, piloting the powerful blue, red, white. I can't speak. Blue, black Lewis deck that he piloted last week to a second place finish. And then last up, Aleandrazi. And looking at his list right now, I believe
It's
it's
Belcher, baby.
I was
You're
I was gonna
right.
say, I don't see any lands. This is Belcher. Okay. This is some spice that we haven't seen last week. This is I wonder why we flipped to this. Maybe we should try and attack the meta, but that's gonna be an interesting one to follow.
Yeah,
And
Ollie mentioned really quickly. Ollie mentioned that he likes to play very off the wall sort of decks, and what's more off the wall than just not playing any lands at all, right?
I'm all here for it. The amount of blood moons we saw kind of clawback games last week. I'm wondering if that's kind of the meta is already changing for it. But one little spice we are adding to this, because these are our 9 returning players. Well, we've got one more returning player, and we're going to be using 2 of these. We've got a wanted poster for these players, right? We've got 3 kind of bounties on the line to have that little bit of incentive for people taking part this weekend. If they get paired against one of our bounties, you can see there Mr. Aspiring Spike, Mr. Doomwake, but the head honcho, Mr. Mason Clark, has entered the arena. If you manage to take these down, well, there's a little reward depending on which one you manage to beat in the Swiss. You can earn yourself an extra, $10 to $15 for taking them down. This just something we're trying to do. We're trying to spice things up, make these tournaments a little bit different from what you traditionally see. And this is how we're going about. We're trying to get more you play, the more you compare into these, the better you're going to do. But you do have to win. That's the only catch. And let's be honest, that's a pretty hard catch,
There's a reason that I've selected these 3 players as bounties. They are criminals on the loose. Catch them, alert the authorities immediately if you run into them, handcuffed or not. Mason didn't get to play the Creator Clash last week, and he came to me and he was so upset. He's like, "All right, I'm going to defeat everybody in your event." And I said, "All right, bet." So there's the $15 bounty if you could beat Mason. And we're going to cut to this next slide, which tells us about the champion bounty. So much like a couple events in the past, once we complete our top 8, what's going to happen is the champion will get the option to battle against Mason in a one-on-one heads-up duel. And if our champion can win this final showdown, then actually we just give out more prize support to the top 8. And that means that, potentially, so we hit 90 players today. And as I promised, this is an event that is scaling with prizes. So while I don't have the exact precise breakdown, we started it as a 1K, and with 40 extra players added, now this event is scaled to a 1.5K. With this additional $200 bounty, players have the ability to win up to $1.7 thousand dollars, $1,700. That's a better way to say it. Yeah. Oh, 16. Maybe my math is wrong. But this is fantastic, and good luck to the winner of the event against Mason Clark.
Yeah, I just want to emphasize how this is a very much community-driven tournament, right? This is just people that love Magic putting on a tournament for other people that love Magic to take part in. The more people that take part in this, the better it is for everybody taking part in this. So it is very community-driven. The more players, the more prizes that can be won. The more options we've got to try these spicy things like this. Just in general, imagine if you win the tournament, then you've got to find the end boss. You are the highlight of today, and potentially you can win more money for your fellow players taking part in this. So we're trying to give back the best we can. This is the way we're going about it. But first, you do have to, one person is going to have to beat Mason Clark. Not an easy task at all. But let's talk about a little bit about the format, Timeless in general. What is it? It is a new format on Magic Arena that, some people, you might be just tuning in. You're like, I knew this isn't Legacy. All I see is you playing Legacy. What's going on here? What is this about? Well, we're not far off Legacy, right? It's a pretty powerful format. Talk us through it, Anu.
Yeah, so Timeless is a non-rotating 60-card constructed format. You can see one-on-one. The cool thing about this is that you have access to every single card on Arena, but it's a little bit tricky because Arena does have custom cards. So the way that our friends over at R&D, you can see a couple of cards here. Kami of Bamboo Groves, personally one of my favorites. Arboreal Grazer 2.0, also Bind to Secrecy, is a pretty exciting one that we saw last week in the finals. Do some pretty good work summoning a 2/2 bat to get into the red zone. But the idea behind this format is that you get to play with a lot of cards that are at home for you, as well as cards that are exclusive to Arena. So this really does make for an exciting, well-balanced format that really can be dynamic. I am a huge fan so far. And a little bit more about this format, there are a couple of restricted cards. So a lot of powerful cards on Arena. These are your 3 restricted cards. That means you can only play one of each copy in your deck. The first is Channel, Demonic Tutor, and Tybalt's Trickery. These cards all really just have a resume for themselves. No real need to sort of dive into why they're so broken. But it's good to see that there is some balance, and the format being fresh, what I'm really hoping comes out of this event is that we get to add a couple cards to this list.
Oh yeah. You mean I say we made a format last week. We made the meta. We know what people are bringing, but we've challenged everybody watching. You think you can do better? Well, here's a tournament for you. Show us you can do better. Show us you can beat some of your favorite players and content creators. But we're going to go straight down to it. Let's do it. Let's go down to our first feature match, who is going to be my favorite person in the world, Philippa MTG. She's brought with Titan, which is, of course, it's so close to my heart. This is my day. If you see me playing Timeless, I'm basically on Titan. Unless I'm trying something different to learn the deck, Titan is where I want to be. She's stuck with it as well. So I'm going to be super happy. We're going to see how she gets on in game number 1. Let's move down to it. So, looks like, yeah, Philippa's going to be at the bottom of your screen here. I believe, okay, she's going with a main deck creator hoof.
Okay, so it looks like just as to catch up, we are starting a little bit into the game here. The general idea behind today is that we are going to be capturing a lot of our featured creators, and later on in the day, we'll also be adding more of, including opponents' hands and things like that. On this exact board state, it looks like Philippa has stabilized. Here is a Primeval Titan with Field of the Dead active as well to summon some 2/2 zombies. Our opponent is playing Grixis Death Shadow. This is an amazing spot here for Philippa.
This is game over. I'm calling it right now. This is game over. You've got 7, 8 land on the battlefield, all different. Every land now generates a 2/2. You've got a Titan still alive on the battlefield, so that's going to be generating more value. And potentially, as early as the next 2 turns, we'll be able to get a Creator Hoof on the battlefield. I actually play one in the sideboard. I don't play one in the main, so I'm going to be really interested to see how this pans out for her. But so much utility in these lands. And if we just rip like another Titan here, we aren't far off just being able to give it straight up haste. Let's see what she's got here. Okay, just another cave. That's another 2/2. Sure. I might have attacked first there, Philippa, because I'd like to get a few more Field of Deads on the battlefield to get a few more extra triggers. But I'm pretty sure the game's just going to be over. Unless, can she cast Creator Hoof this turn? Have a little look, see. 6. Oh, she's having a little look herself, I think.
Looks like 9 mana to me.
Oh, we're just okay. Yeah, we're just hard
plenty. Yeah.
Having +6/+6 trample is that good?
Seems powerful.
It is pretty powerful in this powerful format. I think that might be a Cavern of Souls that she's got on the battlefield, but I imagine it's not named whatever. What creature type is Creator Hoof?
Well, Creator Hoof is a beast, right? And Primeval Titan is a giant. Beast. So this is technically counterable, which would be pretty big game here. but it looks like based on all of the lightning bolts that are going on, we might not have a counter for this. In which case, I think it doesn't matter, right? Crater Hoof, I know that if there are at least 3 or 4 creatures in play, that yeah, this is like 40, 50 plus damage coming your way. And hits him with a good game too. You'll love to see it.
29 damage. Nice, nice Ragavan. Nice Ragavan. All with trample, of course. And we're seeing the absolute power of this. And this is what I mean about these Titan decks. They're so powerful going over the top. If I'm just going to keep drawing, flooding out and drawing land, great, I get creatures. If I can draw my lands and spells, great, I'm doing my game plan. You see things like Natural Order in the deck, one of the more powerful green cards in Magic the Gathering. In this means I can like power out an early Titan. I could power out something maybe like a Titan of Industry if I need to get rid of like a Blood Moon or something like that on the battlefield. I've got Generous Ent, so I can cycle that to go find extra land if I need to early on, if I can go through Blood Moons. This deck does a lot of utility considering it is just a mono green creature deck. It's so cool as we see Philippa take down game 1. This is something I also do. It's I splash a little bit of white, giving me a few sideboard options because I felt a lot in Modern had a lot of the best white card sideboard options for a long time. It's changed now with Modern Horizons being printed, but in this format, I still feel like white has got some of the best sideboard options you can possibly have in Magic, and it looks like she's agreeing.
Okay, so it looks like Crater Hoof actually was red on the stack, which means that it was uncounterable. So there was no way to get around it. Just to conclude, like the very last few seconds of that game. Now, looking at sideboarding here, how do you feel about Philippa's decisions here? I do like bringing in the Veil of Summer, for example, against your mostly blue opponent, right?
Yeah. Well, I imagine that. So it is an open deck, this tournament, right? That's one of the main things is that you can see what your opponent is playing. So you can have a good idea of what's in their main and how they're going to be sideboarding. Are you taking out the bad cards, bringing in the good cards? If you think it's going to be, there's a lot of counter magic floating around that side, then you've got the options to play around it. You know what you want to name, what your key cards are going to be. Normally, I'm always naming Giant on my Cavern of Souls, but then we saw Nile last week was playing like I believe 3 copies of Cavern in their list, where I only generally play 1. So it's kind of dealer's choice, but that's one of the great things about this Titan. Is really you just need some, the shell is there, but the mana base you can kind of make however you want to. You want to be obviously have more lands than you do spells, just so you get the extra value out of it. That hand there didn't really like it, but this is a card we haven't spoke about today. Once Upon a Time, man, do I miss that card being legal in Modern. This lets you keep some of the more sketchy hands that or opening 7s, opening 6s, because you get to not only look at the top 5 cards, but put one of them into your hand. Creature, land doesn't really matter. So if I need some land, I'll go for that. If I need a creature, I can go for that. Looking at Philippa's hand here, maybe I'm looking for a mana accelerant, maybe one of our 1-drops and a bundle grazer potentially, or maybe even a Kami. Again, one of the arena exclusive only cards that we kind of see. She's far enough now. I feel like I would be doing this after my draw step to see what I drawed, but we'll see. She goes for a Kami here. So now she needs an untapped green source and finds it off the top like a boss. That's a Wooded Foothills. We're going to go fetch. Normally when you fetch this deck, you do want to get the snow-covered forest, and she agrees with me here. Because Kami's other ability, it's got a channel ability for free. You can generate 2 basic forests into your hand. So if you don't already have basic forests on the battlefield, you can use those forests as your 7th land type, so to speak, for things like Field of the Dead later, the later the game you go. But yeah, everything going pretty well for Philippa currently.
Yeah, I think this is one of the things that about this Titan deck that really terrifies me. Is like in Modern, we're very used to Amulet Titan, then you play like a Simic growth Chamber, and you can generate rapid amounts of mana. But this deck is able to get Primeval Titan into play as fast as turn 3, and it does it pretty consistently. I mean, your results on the arena ladder may definitely indicate that. So I think this is what. I mean, Kami being able to sort of accelerate you on turn 1 specifically as Arboreal Grazers 5 through 8, very good. And then the follow-up play here of actually literally tutoring Primeval Titan with a card like Fierce Empath means you're exactly on the way here. Now, thinking about this from the Grixis Death Shadow perspective, what are some critical cards here that we would want here? I mean, Counterspell obviously is very good. I don't know if we actually have an ability to, like, quote-unquote, like, stifle the Primeval Titan and then, turn the corner in this matchup. I'll check the deck list right now just to see.
I feel like this is just going to be a horrible matchup, right? Like they're going to be over on the Death Shadow side. You're really relying on things like Dragonized Chandler and Ragavan. as your early drops to try and get that extra damage in. You're relying on people trying to play things like Brainstorm, so you rely on your Orcish Bowmasters, and you're doing a lot of damage to yourself so you can get down your powerful one drop. But against this deck, I've just got loads of dawdly 1/1s, and eventually I'm going to go over the top. Dodge there, though. If we had an untapped land, we would have been able to cast the Primeval Titan this turn. We don't have that ability. So Philip is just going to go Silver Scrying, might eat a Spell Pierce, and does. The Survey Trigger is going to happen as well. Maybe Dragon Age Challenge is going to grow a little bit more. But, it's not all doom and gloom. We do have a land. We can play that now as she does. I'd be attacking with both of these. How about now? Go crazy. You want to trade your Dragon Mage? I'll take that all day long. But next turn, we've got Primeval Titans at least being cast. If they resolve, still to be seen.
Okay, so I have some more information. Looking at Dylan's deck a little bit more closely, this is your stock Grixis Death Shadow deck. One card that I'm not seeing in the main deck is Counterspell. I am seeing Thoughtseize. That is a very good way to interact, very good alongside the card that you see in play right now, Death Shadow, to sort of lose a little bit more life, make your Death Shadows a little bit stronger. And that means then that I think if Philippa can just get to 6 mana, might not have anything to worry about in terms of resolving something like Primeval Titan. I'm also seeing that Feed the Swarm is just another utility spell. Yeah, I don't see any actual counter spells here outside of Spell Pierce.
No, you're right. We got blue for Brainstorm, Explicit Iteration, and Treasure Cruise, and Spell Pierce in the sideboard. But other than that, no counter magic here. Maybe the mana base is too tight. Double blue is hard, and I've said it a number of times that players are very greedy in this format, and I love it. I love that.
Greed is good.
Like, I'm going to play 17 land, Brainstorms, fetch lands. Yeah, I'll get there. I'll be able to get it. Philippa deciding not to go with Titan there, though. Maybe Dylan on the other side, potentially wrapping counter magic, but obviously we know that it's not there. So I'd be interested to see why she did that. Maybe she's just setting up for some explosive turns because she knows the late game is in her favor, dramatically in her favor.
Yeah, absolutely. One of these. So I think the reason the late game is in her favor is because there's just no way to interact with an element as powerful as Field of the Dead. And so when these zombies start coming into play, I mean, they scale so violently. A couple ways that you can get around this. Maybe you can get an early tempo lead with Dragon's Rage Channeler swinging in as a 3/3, and then you can, leverage that. Unfortunately, there's no, we've seen this in modern history, right? Teamer Battle Rage would be a really interesting way to get through with trample damage, but no copies in this deck list. So from this point on, I think Philippa is mostly stable, just needs to go through the motions and make sure that Primeval Titan connects and that we have the 1-2 punch coming up.
So Dragon Age Chandler, Deathlight Shadow, and Ragavan, what do they have in common?
They're all banned. No, hit me. What is it?
CMC 1.
I knew that. I knew that. Will, do you see? I was setting you up there.
I love it. CMC 1. What does Blast Zone come in with?
Oh, 1 counter. Yes, 1 + 1 = 2. So this Blast Zone is actually just going to be incredible as a way to not only stabilize the board, but clear blockers, close the game from Philippa's side, where we remove their board and start just getting aggressive. No blockers for you today.
Yep, and we get the Bajuka Bog there, one of the utility lands that we've got. Exile in the graveyard. Make sure that Dragon Age China is going to stay a 1/1 for this turn at least, but also the Lewis that went to hand last turn. No value going to be gained off that yet, unless we can hit something here off the Dragon Age Chandler, surveying potentially like a bauble or another 1-drop into the graveyard. Decide to keep it on top though, so it's definitely a spell we want. Remember, Unholy Heat is going to be turned off as well while the graveyard is empty. It's only just going to do 2 points of damage. Not great against a 6/6 Primeval Titan, which every time it attacks is basically going to be generating between, 8 to 10,
a million,
12 points of damage on the battlefield. It's going to be pretty crazy. One thing we do miss in these Titan decks is there's no Dryad of the Listen, Grove, Balakut sort of shenanigans going on. It is all combat damage the way we win this matchup. So here's a special iteration, turning and burning a little bit more, putting in the 3rd type into the graveyard. We've now got Sorcery Instant Land, looking for creature or artifact to turn on Delirium.
I'm going to be honest with you. I love the indicator for Dragon's Rage Channeler and Holy Heat that tells me where Delirium is at. It makes things so much simpler for me for tracking and everything.
Oh, yeah. As a caster's point of view, it's great for that. One thing we are missing, though, and I know it's pointed out a million times, is I wish there was a spectator's view. Just to make my life a little bit more easy, please. But we don't have it, so we're gonna do what we need to. But again, playing another 1-drop in the face of this Blast Zone is it's pretty rough. We can just throw one of these, yeah, perma 1/1 under it, chump block, blow blast zone, attack with everything. Um, I suppose it's interesting when we blow the blast zone. I'd probably do it during after attack, so I get my Primeval Titan trigger. Because at the minute we're still missing a creature in the graveyard. If we blow blast zone, then go to attacks, Unholy Heat would be live, and
Oh,
then we could kill the Primeval Titan before attacks.
yeah, this is kind
So
of an important point too about like this format specifically in relation to all of Arena. So when we have a card like Unholy Heat, there are actually two versions on Magic Arena. The first is the Arena specific version that with when you have Delirium, I believe it only does 4 damage, right?
uh, that could be correct. I haven't actually. It's been a long time since I looked at the historic and which one what it does now. I know Dragon Age Challenge is a free one. I think you might be right that it
Yeah.
does four.
Yeah, so it does 4 for the Arena exclusive version, but the cool thing about Timeless, as you can see Titan of Industries coming down and doing very powerful things here, Timeless lets you play with the card as it was designed for tabletop. And so that means it can actually get rid of the Primeval Titan. So Philip is going to go swing into the red zone here after using the Blast Zone to remove the board. And this is a fantastic display of just the power of the mono green Primeval Titan deck. I think it's a very strong force, and I know for a fact that I mean, you've had success, and
Oh,
if
yeah.
you can win with it, I believe anyone can.
But I got a
Love
mythic
you,
playing
Will.
that. You know, when we were testing, like obviously trying to learn the format for the Creator Clash, that was my deck of choice of how to. I was like, this looks pretty. Like I also think it's one of the more powerful decks just in general in some other formats. So I was like, well, let's see how it goes in it. And turns out, Field of the Dead, Primeval Titan, really, really good. Add natural order to that as well. Things go crazy, and I'm just going to go wide. Blood Moon it slows it down. It's not like a house against it because I've got Sylvan Scrying, I've got Cammy, I've got so many ways to just get basics on the battlefield and then get Blood Moons off it. We saw Titan of Industry coming down there. I've got a main deck creature that can just deal with that.
Yeah.
I think the and I'm this is my experience of playing the deck. The biggest kind of weakness is like combo decks normally game one after sideboard you're kind of favored, but things like the sneak attack decks, getting in earlier
Mm.
tracks are out. That's really hard for this deck to deal with because the tracks obviously flies over the top and can, just close the game out super quickly, quicker than you can with an army of tutus. So, maybe if this is how the format starts progressing, we're going to see a lot more sneak attack decks with attracts, Worm Spiral Worm, and Blood Moons in the main. Maybe that's how we see the net moving forward. But that's only one match in. Of course, today we have got like just over 90 players battling out here in the timeless
So cool.
format. So yeah, we were like prepping for like 30. We're like maybe 30 players are going to turn up. Well, you all showed us up, and turns out people like powerful cards and like to play with them in it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one thing that I really like about this format as well sort of just goes to show you, like, this is a great example of this specific matchup, right? The format is wide open. In Legacy, for example, you play a deck like Grixis, you can really tune it to like blue matchups and beating those like mirrors of sorts. But here you've got so many various archetypes that are available that being you're responsible for decks like Primeval Titan. You're responsible for decks like that we alluded to earlier, likely Goblin Charbelcher. So really excited to see what we've got next for our feature match. We're going to check out Doomwake, I believe, see what Doomwake's got going on. I think we alluded to him playing Yawgmoth this weekend, switching over from the Domain Zoo deck. And I think he even had like a note about Domain Zoo too, where he was like, I wish I played more Okos.
Everybody says that card. If you've never played that card and then you play against it, you always think maybe I need more Okos in my list. That card, of course, is super, super powerful. But Yawgmoth is also an amazingly powerful card, especially when you have access to calling Young Wolves and a splattering of other cards. I'm just going to try and get Doom's list up for me here, so I can see exactly what he's registered. Let's have a look. What's going on here? He's got.
It is a pretty standard Golgari deck from what I can tell. The only thing that really, really, really tilts me is that there is a Singleton Tidebinders, Tishana's Tidebinder in the sideboard that I don't think there's a single blue mana source in the deck. So he's using like Prosperous Innkeeper, Deathrite Shaman, and Court of Calling to put it into play.
That's got to be yeah, I've heard of players doing this a lot. I remember Tom Ross used to do this back in the day. He would just use his 15th sideboard cut as a random, just so that he knows when people are using his deck list, when they do the old copy paste. And like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, they're using my deck list. I got you. I got you. I'm looking. One thing I've seen this is natural order. I was like, what are we hitting with natural order in this? we've got a Crater Hoof or an Atraxa as a way to cheat out and kind of get that early, powerful kind of play in this deck. Did you see pylons as well? This is you know, one card we don't see as much in eternal formats, but very good Convoke card for 1 black and 3. Obviously, we can tap 3 creatures for that if we need to. We can destroy target creature or planeswalker and then survey 2, which in itself is great in this format if people are playing things like Primeval Titans, Murktides, or just Atraxas hitting the battlefield. At least we've got like some nice main deck answers to deal with that. Border Calling gives us instant speed ways to put things in. I feel like Doom's kind of in the tank at the minute, and see where he wants to go with this. It does have access to a Orcish Bowmaster if he wants to go that route. Not really any good targets for it though, but it would add 2 more bodies to the battlefield, which means it's called a Calling later on. We'll be able to go for a slightly bigger target, potentially Yawgmoth. Just seeing if we've got any other spice that we need to grab. We do have Vizier of Poisons in here. We've got the combo piece, Blood Artist. Okay, I think what's going on here is basically there was a mishap between the players, I believe, here, and the game lagged out a little bit. So what they did is they conceded they're going to start a game from game 2, and that's how they played it out, because one of the players' computers kind of went a little bit wrong there. But
Gotcha.
yeah, we had a little glimpse into it. Potentially, we're going to get Doom back for round 2 anyway. We will see how that matchup played out. If we can get him around for round 2 as a feature match, we'll get him in there. Obviously,
Double
there's a lot
checking
of
real
teething
quick.
problems. Go for it,
Mr. Producer. Do we have the rest of that match available to us? Yes, he's trying to get to us. Okay, so we're gonna get to watch Golgari Yawgmoth in all of its beauty here. Tell me a question here. What is one of the reasons that you would want to play the Yawgmoth deck? What are some of its good matchups, and what are some of the reasons to quote unquote play the deck, I guess?
So we see a lot of removal in this format. Things like Unholy Heat, Lightning Bolt, Fatal Pushes. None of them line up well against Young Wolf. Okay, this generic 1/1 that can block things like Rag and Dragon Rage Channelers. It takes 2 removal spells to kill it. It is kind of soft to Deathrite Shaman. If it does go in the graveyard, we can eat it in response to the Undying Trigger. But that's a lot of resources for your opponent to just get a 1/1 off the battlefield. So it's got this kind of utility where that in itself is problematic. It can play instant speed with things like Call to Calling and Orcish Bowmaster. It's got powerful draws like Natural Order, so we can kind of go over the top of our opponent. Here, I'm not sure how this lines up against Titan. I feel like I'm favored on the Titan side, but then I always feel like I'm favored on the Titan side. But then, is this actually Titan or just a Field of Dead deck? I haven't pulled up the opponent's deck list. Let me have a little schnurker if I can, because I'm getting vibes that this isn't Titan on the other side of the battlefield.
It is definitely Titan. Yeah, I do see a copy of 4 Primeval Titan, 4 Golos, which is very interesting.
That's what's throwing me off.
And then I see Spelunking, the One Ring, and a singleton copy of Ugin, the Spirit Dragon. So gotta say that I love the deck building here. Yeah, I think going back to your earlier point, I think what separates and like what's going to be critical in this matchup for sure is just going to be racing. So we're going to be looking to combo out our opponent in this setting. Now, as a brief reminder to the players, Doomwake is actually up a game here. We're just going through some technical issues earlier, but Doomwake we're winning the match currently. Yeah. So definitely does have a shot at taking this game. Opponent already down to 9 life.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing, right? It's quite a good beat stick. Things with Deathrite Shaman, we already know how powerful that card can be, especially in the late game. I'm looking at this deck list and I'm in love. We've got a channel in here as well. Channel into a Ulamog. Let's go. That is definitely one of the more powerful things we can do, and that can really put a sticky wicket, to use an English phrase, for this Yawgmoth deck. Just being able to every turn basically one side Wrath, or maybe just powering out an early Golos plus 1 ring in the same turn, which I think that might be channel in the graveyard if I'm not mistaken. So we might have already used that, and that's why our life total is so low.
Okay, I see. That makes sense. Yeah.
I think it was a Golos 1 ring. I think that's how we got that powerful. Like,
wait, that is actually so ridiculous. Now that I think, I do see it in the graveyard. Being able to, and that's probably the reason why Nick is maybe even on channel with Golo specifically as a payoff, with the One Ring specifically as a payoff. I like one thing that I've noticed in this format is being able to leverage the card Dark Ritual into Necropotence is a very strong line. but this is like the green version of that, right?
Yeah, like it's so, and then well, this is also why it's restricted to one copy, right? Imagine if you could run 4 copies of this card in this deck. I think you'd see a few more Ulumogs running around in this format. So we've got like the Titan. I said I would call this probably like Titan Plus. Titan Plus, you can go bigger than Titan, which is, in itself is crazy to think about. I'm just seeing if there's any other crazy combos that going on. 4 copies of Spelunking as well. Now, this is a card that, on the face of it, you're kind of like, okay, it's just a 3-mana ram, but it's got the ability to not only gain you 4 life if you do play one of the couple. We've got a couple caverns in the deck, like the Citadel. You can gain some life that way if you need to catch back up. But having your cards come into play untapped can be pretty huge. It means you can use something like the battlements, is it? That gives target creature haste. So in the same turn you play a Titan, you can get the 2 lands, give it haste as well, and then get another 2 triggers from it, as well as giving your opponent the headache of a 6/6 trampler going face. Like I might have to give this deck a little run. This is pretty sweet. Hats off to the famous Nick at the top of your screens.
Yeah, this is honestly looking pretty sweet here. Now, from this position, looks like Doomwake's not doing so hot. What has to happen here for Doomwake to sort of, well, I guess we have a couple draws, right? With the Young Wolf in play and also with the Hapatra, don't we have the ability to spend life to draw just a bajillion cards?
Not so yes. Basically, what can happen with Yawgmoth and her Patra on the battlefield is you, depending on what your life total is, of course, you can basically one side wrath your opponent. So every time you put a -1/-1 counter on a creature, you get a 1/1 snake, and then you can keep sacrificing that snake to generate another -1/-1 counter, which means you draw another card, but you do lose another life. We are, I believe, maybe we were kind of close to a quarter cooling. I think if we didn't do what the Deathrite Shaman play here, we might have been able to go chord of cool, turn and burn through our deck, find a chord of calling. As soon as we hit a chord, we can then go and get ourselves the blood ice, and then that in itself is a winning combo, because every time we sacrifice a snake, not only do we kill a creature, but we also your opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. Um, Interesting how he wants to go about it here. Looks like he's definitely floating mana in some description. Looks like we've got a little bit of stall going on here on our screen at the minute. Because remember, there's a lot happening right now. There's going to be some teething issues with this our event, on our first event, but this happens. It's magic. We're all here. We're all trying to get through it. We're going to see the Yawgmoth combo start going off now. This is one of the reasons why you play Young Wolf, is because you can kind of get a lot of value from it being an undying creature. You're almost getting double the amount of triggers.
Wait, so let me ask you a question here. Do we have a way to actually win through something like Veil of Summer?
No,
Okay.
not
And
someone will protect it for the turn. The idea is you pass the turn and then just do it again in the next upkeep.
on their upkeep. Okay, so that
Yeah.
that makes sense. So that's how Blood Artist. I'm trying to like evaluate in my mind, like at the very low level, Blood Artist versus a card like Zulaport Cutthroat, right? That's something that we've seen, to answer cards like the One Ring. I don't know if the One Ring has a really large metagame share right now in this timeless format. Is that something that as a Yawgmoth player, you would want to keep on your mind?
Uh, Definitely how it's depending on how big it gets. You can see that Doom's gone with Haywire Might as kind of his line here of how he wants to be able to deal with the One Ring. But the protection side of things, I'm not too worried about that. That's sure. If I can combo, I can combo over literally the next phase after the ring's protection wears off. So that's I don't mind about that too much.
Okay.
It's more them drawing 1,000 cards and beating me down on the value train.
Mhm.
If I've got the combo, I've got the combo.
Gotcha. And I feel like in this matchup, like the thing that's really important to me though is the combo, because I feel like so deceptively, I think that the Titan deck has a lot of ways to sort of gum up the board. We already saw Kami of the bamboo groves. There's literal arboreal grazer. You even see things like the plant token, right? These small things, I believe, just like add up in a way that a deck as potent as Titan, which can kill you on turn 3 reliably by turn 4, stalls long enough. So it does seem like in this matchup, the combo is the de facto number 1 way to go. And maybe that's what we just have to expect to rely on throughout the entirety of this specific matchup.
I'm kind of working out what Doom's kind of line is here, and where his decision is making, because there's 8, 9, there's like 10 power on the battlefield right now, or 11 toughness on the battlefield, but he's only got 9 life. So we can only really reduce 8 of that. And to go off, we actually need to have 2 life to be able to combo, because you can't lose. The trigger of you losing 1 life will happen before you gain your 1 life from a blood artist combo here. So I think we're digging for cord. So our next 5 draw steps have to have a Cord of Cooling, and we can't draw the blood ice. If we draw the blood ice before the Cord of Cooling, we lose the game. If we draw Cord of Cooling in our next 5, we can win the game. If we don't do either, we're going to lose the game no matter what. And I think that's what Doom's going with right now. That's not what he's after. So we're now going to go to an Orcish Bowmaster. Going to sacrifice. Okay, this is just to get another creature off the battlefield. Maybe we're going to try and rely on living another turn. Because remember, the snakes that are generated are green, which is the key bit for Cord of Cooling. This is what gives us all these extra green mana pips, because it is 3 green mana pips for Cord of Cooling. Doesn't look like we've managed to find it. Looks like we found everything else in the deck but Cord of Cooling. And we've got to be worried about... So, did we do that? I think we did all that in the upkeep before everything happened. So in response, the Pilgrim was second ability was used, which you can tap. I believe it's 1 of every color +3 or +2, and then you can exile top 3 cards of your library. You can play them all for free, but just a couple of land and a Buzzle Grazers, not great. This will produce a couple of extra 2/2 zombies though, so not all doom and gloom. But I would love to be in Doomwake's position moving in to this turn, so to speak. My opponent's completely tapped out. They haven't really got much going on. The ring's not going to be able to generate any more cards. They can only attack for up to 5 damage, but that's not great considering what the board's like. I think we just lost the feed a little bit, but okay, there we go. It's back for you all at home. Sorry about this. A bundle of Graze is going to come down. That's going to add just another creature. Don't really worry about that right now. I'm pretty sure we're going for the combo finish because we don't have enough mana to cast this Crater Hoof that you see in hand. Pretty interesting. By the way, I'm loving the opponent's deck and how they went about it. I might not have drawn all those cards there. That's the problem. But now we can go Demonic Tutor, go find either Cord of Cooling, or realistically, we'll go find the Blood Artist, hard cast the Blood Artist, win the game via combo, unless there's a Veil of Summer in hand. But we'll go through the line that we spoke about. And knew if there's a Veil of Summer this turn, that's fine. I'm just going to do combo off again in your upkeep, because look at these Titan decks. There's no instant way to, there's no fatal pushes, no lightning bolts, anything along those lines to instantly get it off the battlefield in the upkeep.
I'd love to see it again. The double good game here. So Doomwake is going to take the match here 2-0 against Titan, using the combo, using the reliability of Yawgmoth, the Deep Digger into the
Deep Digger or Deeper?
Yes.
Dig deeper into
I know where your head's deeper at. into the deck to find exactly Cord of Calling. That's going to summon the lethal Blood Artist through the loop here. And like you mentioned, ways to play around cards like Veil of Summer. I think that is what gives this deck its power, especially in a matchup like this, right? Where like on one hand, you can use creatures to attack left, right. That's your fair plan. But then, later on, turn 4, turn 5, even turn 3, you could play something like a Yawgmoth. You could start to draw an excessive amount of cards, and then you have this backup lethal infinite combo that will drain your opponent for all of their life points. So congratulations, Doom, taking the first round here. That's my bounty, by the way. Good luck. Yeah. You thought you thought you could get money out of this team. Nuh-uh. My bounties, they are good. Wait. What's this? Mason just lost. Hello. Okay. We're gonna have to take a quick break here. We'll be right back in just a little bit. And we've got what you want here. It's Wordle. That's right. See you in just a second.